Hey, what's up? Looks here again. Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we are going to be dialing in the camshafts. In the last episode, I clearanced the camshafts. They came up pretty good in the end. And now we are going to put all the timing gear back on and get the camshafts dialed in. Once we've done that, we can close the engine up, drop it back in the car and put all the stuff back together. So let's get started. First up, in the last episode I had one of the shims drop down into the oil pan, so I had to take the oil pan off. So I've just cleaned the surface. And I thought I'd show you guys the oil sump that I've got. So this is one of the RCM baffled sumps, and man, doesn't she look awesome. You'll notice that there's a deep hole there, because it comes with one of their pickups as well, which again looks pretty good. I did purchase a Killer Bee pickup originally before I bought the sump, but then when I bought the sump it came with this one, so I thought I'd go with this one. Plus the Killer Bee didn't really fit down in here. It's just slightly different, but both products way better than factory, especially when it comes to the pickup. So yeah, I'm real happy that I've got a real good sump on there. If you go to the website for RCM, man, they make some wicked Subaru stuff. Cost a penny though, but obviously with them you do get what you pay for. So anyway, I've skimmed that up as much as I can. I'm going to put some gunk on it, get it back on there, bolt it all down, and that should be good to go. We'll flip the engine back over and start getting this timing gear on. So yeah, let's get into it. But she's all good to go, so hopefully that'll seal up while it dries in the sun. Might just wipe some extra stuff off, a little bit over here. Alright, one oil sump sealed up, ready to go. So I'll flip that over now, and then we will slowly start getting this timing gear back on the engine. I might lay out everything on the table ready to go. So yeah, I'll flip this engine over and get that stuff ready. Alright, so I've got all our gear ready to go. I'm probably just going to get the covers on for tonight. I'll see how I go. But we've got covers to put on, another pulley, all the cam gears, plus the caps for the AVCS. I'll probably need to tidy those up a little bit, and then torque everything down. Put the belt on and the tensioner as well, and then that's pretty much good to go. So for now, I'll just stick the covers on, the rear cam gear covers, and we'll just see how we go for time. Okay, a couple of days has gone by. Finally found some time to come out and get this all timed up. Crap weather today, so perfect for doing stuff like this, even though I really can't be bothered, but needs to be done. So you would have seen, you would have just watched me installing this belt. I think everybody has their own different way of installing it. But it's been a while since I last done it and I always forget, but I know you always start off with the center one. I wasn't sure if you work right or left. I'm pretty sure it was left. Those ones are not under tension when you put those ones on, so they're pretty simple, but this side usually I find has always got some tension on, because you'll see here that the loads are pushing in on the valves and stuff. So this side is usually the tricky side. There is a flash tool you can buy. It's a little bracket that bolts up. It's got a little Allen key sort of insert, slips in there, and it's got some threads on the end of that. Put a bracket on, tie some bolts in it, and once you get it to the certain point, it locks it in place. So it makes it a hell of a lot easier to install the belt. But if you don't have one of those, yeah, usually start with the middle, top left, bottom left, start with this bottom right, and this one will be your last one. And then if you pull on the belt a little bit, and you can turn the cam gear by pulling it, it just gives it a little bit of slack that it'll keep jumping the tooth until you get to the right tooth. So I just want to quadruple check that my belt has got all the marks in the proper place. So we've got this dotted line on the belt, that's always the main crank, so we can see that's lined up pretty good. So 5 points we need to check, that's one. Next one, that's pretty easy to see, so there's our white line there, it lines up with the white line on the belt. 2 is done. 3, on these aftermarket Tommy ones, there's a little white mark there, and that kind of, I put a white mark on the side of the belts. There's no mark on the side of the Tommy gear, so it was hard to line up. So if you put it on the angle, that's pretty good there. So that's 3 done, as well as those. Really, those 2 and 2 lines should be lined up. I'm not quite sure why they aren't. Before I even put all the front covers on, I might triple check this over with Salwin or someone else as well, just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure as long as those are on the marks, it's all good. Okay, so yeah, even those 2 don't really line up exactly. It's slightly off. I'm not sure if is it because it's an aftermarket cam gear. Maybe it's not zeroed off. Not sure. But anyway, there's the white line on the cam gear, white line on the belt. That lines up pretty good. And then the last one, so that's 4, 5, and that one's pretty easy to see. White line on the cam gear, white line on the belt. So according to me, that is pretty much done. The last thing you do, so if you notice what I did, I couldn't remember how I did it, but usually I take that whole pulley off. So I installed the belt with that pulley off. I had it on in this time, but I had it just sitting over the face of the pulley. But if you take that one off, put your belt on, put the pulley, it just gives it enough slack so you can do what you need to do. Put the pulley back on, and then the last thing you do is, I've just used some welding rods from our alley stuff, so I had to squash that in the vise. Remember, it needs to take roughly about a minute to squash it. The longer the better. You just don't want to ruin the piston or the seals inside. And then I just use this alley welding rod to thread it through the hole there, just to hold it until everything's in place. So the last thing to do to time it all up is you pull the rod out. That'll push the piston out. That'll push against that little rod at the back of this pulley, and that's what will, because that's pretty loose at the moment, just that side. But once that piston pushes that out, that'll put some tension on that belt, and that's how you do your timing belt on a Subaru. But yeah, like I said, I might just check those marks anyway. The only marks I'm worried about is that these two aren't lining up. I've got a pretty good hunch that these aren't exactly on zero. Not sure if we can see that properly, it's a bit bright. Yeah, I might have to check that out. I'm pretty positive that's all good to go, but it doesn't hurt to make a phone call. Hey, what's up? It's a Monday night at the moment. It's pretty stormy, but carrying on with this, I've just got a text from Selwyn. He's going to try and pop over tomorrow night to degree his cams in. So I still need to get a couple of things ready for him, just to help cut the time down before he gets here. I've got to install the degree wheel, put a little wire pointing at zero. I need to install the little steel plate which allows the magnet stand that holds the gauge. So I need to put those on. I also need to get this engine at TDC on cylinder 1. What else? I think that's about it. That's what I need to do for Selwyn, and then he'll be good to go and bring his gauge and do everything that he needs to do. Okay, so I'm just going to get TDC on this engine. So what I've done is I've got my little plastic tool. I've dropped it down into the spark plug hole, which there's no spark plug, so that's sitting on the piston right now. I've got my ratchet on the crank, so as I turn this around, that plastic thing is going to move up, and then there's going to be a point where it stops. It's still moving. Now I think it's stopped, and if I keep going, it's going to want to drop back down again. So if it starts dropping back down, I've gone past TDC, so if I just bring it back a tad, somewhere about there is TDC. Okay, so now I've got the engine that pretty close to TDC on cylinder 1. I need to put this on. So we need to take the main crank bolt out. Now I discovered that it's probably easier if you take it off with a gun, because that way the gun just undoes it without turning the belt again. So it was real easy. If I pull that out, what I've noticed is I'll just sit this in here so you can kind of see. If I put that degree wheel on, not sure if this happens to every engine, but it's happening to this one. If I do this bolt up, so that's done up, the degree wheel still is a little bit loose, and I'll show you why. So if I undo this wheel, the bolt, you'll see that there's a little lip there, just where my finger's pointing. So a little lip there, so the bolt's not actually going hard against the wheel, it's going on that little lip that the wheel's sitting on, hence why it's flimsy. So I needed to find the spacer. So I don't know where this came from, but I found this, so I'm going to put that on in between, and hopefully that will stiffen it up. Okay, so got my wheel, bolt in the front, spacer on the back. Now the spacer will sit flat against the plate and also against the lip, so let's give that a go. And the tricky part is trying to get it in the centre, which is around about there. If it's not bang on, hopefully Selwyn will tidy it up a little bit more. Keep going until I suppose the cambelt starts turning, like that. Right, that's the degree wheel on. So it should just look just like that. Now I don't think it matters where these numbers go. This wheel can go any way it wants. So that 0 TDC there, that could be over here, it could be over here, anywhere. All that we have to do is we've got to put a wire somewhere on the engine that points to it, because at the moment we know the engine's pretty much at TDC, so wherever this wheel sits, so if it's going to sit there, we just have to make a wire that points. Currently this is 0 TDC, if that makes sense. Once I get the wire up, it should make a bit more sense, so I'll go find some welding rod and try and get a wire in there. Okay, so final result, wheel is on, found a spare bolt lying around, bolted the welding rod in there, bent it, and pretty much from that angle it looks like it's bang on. I'm not going to worry about it now because we still need to sort final TDC. Once we do that, then we'll make sure that needle is pointing in the right position. That's that part set. So I guess the first part, and when you're degreeing your cams, is to get this wheel on, get that wire on, and first of all get your engine at TDC, then use the wire to tell us where 0 TDC is. Probably bend that just a little bit more. Well, probably made it worse. I'll stuff around with it a bit later. And then as we turn the engine around, it'll tell us how many degrees is whatever we need to find. So that's that part. Just to finish off what I need to do to prepare for Selwyn, I'm gonna put the plate up here, get the stand which is sitting up there on the bench, get all that on as well, so he can just come in, put his gauge in, and he should be able to do whatever he needs to do. So I'll go do that now. So this was the plate that Selwyn gave me. He just had one lying around, so I have to put this somewhere so that the magnetic base can sit on it somewhere, but there's nowhere really. This is cylinder 1, so I have to get it pointing above the 2 or the 4 valves, I suppose, because that's what it's this area we need to measure. So I need to get the plate somewhere. It doesn't quite fit anywhere, so I'm gonna have to go make my own. So this is what I've come up with. This is some old steel that I use for the fender, and I've just cut it down. I'm just going to slide it in there so it sits on that where those crosses are. I'll drill some holes out hopefully they line up with those holes. I'll put a couple of bolts in there, then hopefully the magnetic thing can sit right here and we can just point it that way and point it over this side. So I'll go drill some holes in that, and yeah, hopefully it'll fit. Okay, so here's the plate all bolted in. Worked out pretty good. Fits in there without getting in the way of anything. Found a couple of bolts, bolted that in. That's not going anywhere. So now I can grab the magnet doodacky thingy. So that's where the gauge sits in there somehow. I'll sit that on there. And then there's a switch. Turn it on, turns the magnet on. Now that's not really going anywhere.
What we do here is go back.
So now we can turn that around. I think if you adjust this, yeah, it'll let you move the arm into position. So we can move it around and do whatever we want with it. So now that we're up to that stage, I think just loosen that a little bit, twist it around, and then we can put the gauge in there. I think that might be upside down, I'm not sure. Anyway, I've got it to the stage where, yeah, now we can put the gauge in there. Salon will show us the rest of it, but we've pretty much got access to all 4 valves. So we are ready to degree the cams. All good, happy with that. Okay, so tonight is Tuesday night. Just waiting for Selwyn to turn up and hopefully finish degreeing in these cams. But we're pretty much all ready to go. So just to go over one more time, got our degree wheel ready. Once he finds a true TDC, we'll get this wire in place. We've got our plate on with our magnet and our arm that can oversee cylinder 1 and all 4 valves. So yeah, ready to go. Hopefully that'll finish all that process off, close everything up, get everything back in the car. So yeah, we'll see what happens when Selwyn turns up. Sweet. Alright, so Selwyn's turned up and already told me I made a mistake, so I had to make some brand new washers for the wheel, which is all done. And at the moment it's got his little gauge on, and we've just found 0 TDC. So from here we can move on to doing what we actually plan to do, and that's try and degree this gear in. So away we go. Okay, so Selwyn came over last night and did all the measuring that he needed to do. I was hoping to try and explain the whole process, but it's really tricky when you actually not a mechanic and you don't understand the intricates about TDC, what that means, valve to piston clearance, and a few other terms that were thrown around last night. So what I can say is that we checked all the specs of cylinder 1 in terms of the exhaust camshaft and the intake camshaft, and they weren't exactly to the letter of the spec card, but I've been told that's quite a common occurrence. So it was a couple of degrees off each camshaft, which I've been told is all good, so I'm happy with that. And then it came down to valve and piston clearance. So after talking with the boys from Speed Factor here in Tauranga, who put the engine together and put the heads on, they're quite happy that we measured the intake with, I want to say it's common practice to put the intake on a 40-degree advance and measure where the valve is, and see if that's got enough clearance between the valve and the piston. So once we measured that last night, then went down to Speed Factor just to check that was okay. They're pretty happy with the numbers. So unfortunately, yeah, later on I might do an episode and get into how to degree cams on the Subaru a bit more, but for now I just need to keep moving forward. So what I can say is that our new camshafts have been clearanced, and we've checked all the degrees and stuff, and everything's looking quite good. So I'm quite lucky that I didn't have to modify anything. So now, currently I'm up to the stage where I can start closing the engine back up properly, getting the rocker cover seals back on, front cover seals back on, damper back on, and pretty much start putting my car back together, which is just a little bit exciting. And you know, the aim is that when it all goes back together, it'll just start and all the sensors will work, including those rear cam sensors. Yeah, and then I can get ready to throw it back on the dyno. So here we go, through the magic of camera work, we go from this to boom. She's back in the engine bay. So she's just sitting in there for now. So I've still got to hook everything up, and then yeah, hopefully it'll be one of these and good to go. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up for this episode. That'll give me time to hook everything back up, and try and get this car started again, maybe during the week, or maybe on the weekend as well. I'll just chip away at it. I just want to take my time to make sure I get everything right. But yep, hopefully once I'm all done, it should just start, and hopefully all those sensors go, especially those rear cam sensors. Hopefully they just work, and then we'll be good to go and ready for another crack at the dyno. My final advice about degreeing cams, if you've never done it before, if you don't really know what you're doing, is you can probably do what I did in this video and set everything up, if you've got those gears. Otherwise, my advice, if you are upgrading to bigger camshafts, definitely get someone in who knows what they're doing. It's one of those crucial things that you don't really want to mess up, because it'll just mess your engine up, and you've got to, like I did, have to pull everything back out again. And if you've damaged stuff, redo your heads, and yeah, you just have to start again. So if you are buying bigger camshafts, you can definitely put them in yourself, but just remember to get them degreed in. And like I said, if you've never done it before, I'm pretty good with picking up stuff, but that stuff was just confusing, and I'd probably need a few more lessons at it, but I couldn't get it on the first go. So as someone was talking to me and what I've picked up off other videos and researching and asking other people, I've learnt a little bit, but probably not enough to explain at a dummy level, which is what I love. So unfortunately I wasn't able to originally describe what I was going to do, but there are a few things that I'll check off, and they are: why do we degree the cams in? So the whole purpose of it is to make sure that when you are upgrading your camshafts, obviously they're slightly bigger. We want to make sure that they're clearing the valve holes that they're not scraping. You want to make sure that as the load goes through and pushes the valve, that your valve isn't going to hit your piston when it rises, and that when you are advancing your camshafts, pretty much the same thing, that it's all meeting the same numbers that it should do on the spec card you should get when you are buying camshafts. So I reckon it's a good idea if you are buying camshafts, be safe, buy some brand new ones. Second-hand ones, I'm not so sure about, because you just never know where they've been, what condition they're in. Brand new, can't go wrong, comes with the spec card of that particular camshaft, which helps the guy who's doing all, working out all the numbers. It helps them out a lot as well. So that's why you need to degree your camshafts in. And yeah, unfortunately I couldn't explain the how-to. Thank you for sticking around. Like and subscribe to the channel. Still got a few more vids to come. I mean, got to get the car started again, get it running right again, take it to the dyno. Hopefully that goes well. Once that's all well, still got a whole list of getting the car back in shape and making it look good as well. I've got to go through a cert process to get this car road legal. So still plenty more vids to come. But like I said, thank you for your support, and we'll see you in the next vid, where hopefully I'll be turning the key one more time. Yep, that's me for now. Ciao.